So today we're going to explain how we could set the priority of a ticket based on the category that's selected by the agent. So we may want to do this because we want to have particular services or categories indicate the urgency of a ticket versus the impact of the ticket, which the agent may want to provide. So in order to do this, we're going to need a custom object. We're going to need to control how the behavior works on the form, and we're going to have to say what effectively priority we're going to give each category within our system. So to start off, what we're going to do is set up our custom object. So custom objects are effectively a way of us creating little matrices within Fresh that allow us to say this is a reference table and then taking action based on that. So here we're going to create a new custom object called urgency. And we're going to set our fields, so effectively set our columns. So we're going to say data source is fields. No, not lookup, drop down is on ticket. And we're going to select urgency, sorry, not impact. So we're going to set impact. And then we're also then going to use a drop down to say category. Data source is tickets, category, and that's a definite field, and that's also required. So then what we're able to do is then that's effectively set the columns in our table, and then we're going to add our horizontal records. So what we can do is come in here and say a low is a vendor payment, new registration, save. So now if we have a vendor payment, new registration, the impact is low. We may then want to set a high one in our example. So access modification is a high impact. We want to say a high is a security adjustment. A medium one might be communication setup. And that gives us a few examples. Obviously, in your Freshservice, you would use your categories and what your priorities are for your business, but this is just for the purposes of explaining this. So we've now set up our matrix that allows us to say these categories have these impacts. Brilliant. Then what we're going to do is, because in our example, what we want to say is our agents set the urgency, I keep forgetting which one we're talking about, and priority is automatically set. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our default rules here, and we're going to come in here and we're going to disable urgency, impact, keep getting those the wrong way around, and priority, because we only want the agent to be able to update the urgency of the ticket. And I'm going to do that on edit as well. So I'm going to say disable, priority, and impact, because those are going to be set automatically. So now when we come into our ticket view, you'll see the impact of doing that is that these are now grayed out. Now they will behave differently. Can you see that change when I moved it to medium? It moved back to low. So they will behave, it'll still operate, and then we're going to tell the workflow to set the impact. So what we're going to do is we're going to go create a workflow, and we're going to create a new workflow, set impact based on category. And our trigger in this situation is going to be category is updated, and from any value to any value. So whenever category is updated on the ticket, we're going to go and recalculate that priority impact. So then what we're going to say is when it's impacted, we're going to fetch our reader node, and our reader node allows us to go back to that table that we just set up, which was our little matrix, and go look up the record. So what we're going to say here is, interesting, that's not giving me an option. So normally this sort of thing happens, this is just a live demo, is when there isn't a matching custom object. And I know what I've done here. Actually, I'm in global settings. I can see I'm in global settings and my custom object is within my IT. So let me just delete this really quick. It's a good little example of how not to do it. So if I move down to IT and then say workflow, because my custom object is within IT, we're going to say set priority based on category. And it wasn't priority, was it? It was impact, because we're going to keep getting that wrong, but don't we all? So again, category is updated from any value to any value, can be performed by anyone. We're then going to go fetch our reader, and we're going to go look up, there's our category urgency. So selecting the category and then looking for the matching placeholder. Now this is hidden down the bottom. It's actually down here, ticket fields category. So it's not the most obvious thing to then go and match up at all. So now what we're going to say is, okay, use my reader node to go look at our category urgency matrix that we set up. When the value of category in our matrix matches the value of category on our ticket, then we want to do something. So then we want to say, okay, if the output here of impact is not empty, then I want to set the value of impact as the output from our field. Now this is why it was important when we set up our custom object to make sure that we were referencing those fields, because otherwise Fresh wouldn't let us set that value on the ticket as the value that's in our matrix if they weren't the same drop down, they weren't the same value. It would get upset. If you wanted to have a mismatch of type whereby it wasn't a drop down, you would need to use a webhook to then effectively print or put, in a webhook sense, that value into that field. So there you go. So that will now say when the value of category is updated, go look for a value in our matrix, make sure that the value is not empty, and then return the impact there. So that will work properly. If I just go back and remind myself really quickly in our custom objects what our values were. So then we impacted category, so communications, security adjustment, access modification. Okay, so now if I go look at our ticket and then I say, okay, access modification, we can see we locked this out earlier. So if we change this to security adjustment, this value here should now move to high, and priority should also update at the same time. So we can see Fresh has done something in the background. Here our workflow has run, we've set this to high, priority is now set automatically as part of the workflow. If I change this to access, was our other one, access modification, then this value should move down. We should see Fresh run me a little refresh update, and we should see that is also high. So there we go. What was our other one? We set it as vendor payment, didn't we? Vendor payment, new registration, that was low. There we go. Now you can see that's moved low, low, back again. So that is how we would then set the priority of a ticket based on the category being linked to the impact. And we've then set up our matrix in our custom object. We've locked our fields down on our form so that our agents can't adjust them, but they can be adjusted by the system. Our agent can then set the urgency, and the category sets the impact. And if we set this to a value that is not listed on our matrix, and we didn't set software, you'll see then that actually the workflow does nothing. It doesn't run again because there was no matching record. So there you go. So what you would then do is go into your custom object, and you would then update this matrix to match your priority. And you would go in here and add another record all the way through for everything that you want to drive that with. There you go. Thank you very much for watching. Speak to you soon.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest features and tutorials. If you or your organization need help with Freshservice, check out our consulting, implementation, training and support services at our website. zestco.uk. Zest, a fresh perspective.